Did you know that over the next decade, millions of businesses valued at trillions of dollars are preparing to change hands as baby boomers prepare to retire? This unprecedented opportunity is going to create significant opportunities for the prepared and significant risks for the unprepared. Yes, it is true. This is the opportunity of a generation. Again, there are 10 million businesses that are preparing to change hands. So here's a term I want you to be familiar with. It's called the Silver Tsunami. In other words, our gray-haired friends who have built tremendous businesses and in the process built tremendous wealth don't want to work forever. And they're looking for others to whom they can pass along the business that they've built. Now, the good part is there are some of us that are all ears and we're recognizing that there is a significant opportunity. Meanwhile, others are asleep at the wheel. They don't realize that, sure, they could build a business little by little by little through addition, or they can build a business through multiplication by adopting, inheriting, purchasing, taking over an existing business and go from zero to hero very, very quickly. So here are the statistics. According to lendingtree.com, over 50% of all US businesses are owned by individuals who are 55 or older. And as I mentioned before, over 10 million businesses are poised to change hands in the next 10 years. So let's begin by talking about why purchasing an existing business, acquiring one that's already been built, is so advantageous. Well, as I mentioned before, it is growing your portfolio, your customer base, your net worth, even by multiplication. You aren't starting from scratch. You see, all too often, so many of us start from the ground up doing what other people did in order to get where they are. Now, I want you to listen to that again more carefully, is that we believe that if we want to get where somebody else is at, that we have to do what they've done. And all common sense would say, well, of course, unless this person who has built something that's admirable says, hey, I want out right here, rather than starting down here, you can actually jump up to the front of the line. You can actually take off or start where they left off. Not only are you in a position to acquire the customer base, the brand, the cash flow, but their existing systems and structures. Again, a business is made up of people, systems, brand, reputation, all those things put together. And you're essentially stepping into that if done correctly. Now, I want to share with you an experience from one of the members of ProInsight. She's a top real estate agent out of Oregon City, Oregon. And on our mastermind call this past week, I brought her on center stage and I asked her, I said, Stephanie, I know recently you purchased the business of a retiring real estate agent. How did that turn out? And she said it was great. I added another 7 transactions last year and I intend on adding even more than that in the upcoming year. And I said, you already had a business in place and running. Why did that particular business owner choose you? She said, well, he did choose because there were a number of other people that wanted to acquire the business that he had. But you see, I already had some systems in place. And by simply taking what he had built and folding it into my existing operation, he was able to continue to receive a payout, to receive something that he would not have received otherwise. And I was able to simply grow by multiplication. Now, the interesting thing about what Stephanie shared is that it didn't take that much additional effort. It's not like she was building an entirely separate business altogether. She just folded in an existing business and her existing systems and people and process were able to support that additional database. So she was able to have those relationships transferred to her by the person who was retiring out. And she was able to simply grow quickly without the additional cost needed to start a new business or start a business in a different industry. Now, my good friend Nick Crowder, he authored the book called The Golden Handoff. And in that book, Nick creates a model by which a real estate agent can have a calculated way of transferring their business to another. That's just one industry. On our platform, the ProInsight platform, we support professionals who serve property owners. Currently, we support 38 professional types. Some of those are asset-based professionals. Some of those are property service professionals. But in each one of those particular verticals, these professionals have the ability to either A, just kind of let their business sunset, or they have the ability to actually put some effort and some intentionality into that business so that it then has the ability to be transferable to somebody else. Now, here's an interesting analogy I want to share with you. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a car and you were getting ready to sell it, but before you sold it, you thought to yourself, you know what? I need to detail this car, have it looking perfect because I want to get the most amount of money out of it. And then after you detail it, you're like, wow, this is actually a pretty nice car. Why do I want to sell this thing again? And you actually end up either keeping it or at least thinking twice about selling it. Now, let me give you one more analogy, and I'm going to tie this all together as to why it's so important for you to optimize your business for sale. So the other one is when you're preparing to list your home for sale, and you think, what are the things that we need to do to this home in order to get maximum dollar out of it? And we come back to the thing of like, well, we should probably remodel the kitchen or replace the carpet, or replace the flooring. Now, I'm not recommending that those are all good ideas. Talk to a really qualified real estate agent, and they'll tell you what things you should do that you will get a return on, and what things you should not do and you will not get a return on. Nevertheless, many do that, and after the fact, they're like, wait a minute, this kitchen is beautiful. Why would we go try and find a different kitchen? So here's my point in all of that, because you might be saying to me right now, Justin, I don't think I want to sell my business, all right? And I'm not in a position to purchase other people's business, so this really doesn't apply to me. And I would just say to you that like, actually it does, because here's why. Is because just going through the process of optimizing your business is going to cause you to say to yourself, man, this is actually a better business than I thought. I could actually see myself working in this business for the next 20 years versus get me out of here fast, right? So this process, again, is an important one for you to go through. So again, therein lies the opportunity for you to really begin now to think about optimizing your business in a way that just makes it a better business and prepares it to potentially be acquired at some point. Now, here's the other side of this. You could say to yourself, I'm not going to sell it and my business is just fine. But here's the opportunity loss from thinking that way. Again, going back to the example of Stephanie, the reason why she was able to easily acquire another person's business is that she had built the infrastructure. She'd built the systems to where she was able to then fold in another business without even missing a beat. And so my invitation to you is that if you think that your business is good enough to support your client base, there may very well come an opportunity in front of you that you may miss or they may miss you because your business is not properly optimized to have an acquisition at that point, to acquire their business. And so it becomes super important for you to think ahead and realize there are going to be businesses that are quietly, sometimes more loudly, retiring, that these people want to be done. They're ready to move on. And they would love an exit strategy out of their business. And because they aren't necessarily looking to have some giant tax bill, they're probably okay with you paying them slowly over time, right? And what that creates for you is an invitation to get your business ready and then to start to look around to evaluate who are the people who are really interested in having a graceful, successful exit that might allow me to grow at a pace that I never could have all on my own. Now, I want to share with you step number 1 for actually preparing and optimizing your business for sale. You see, we have to recognize that the very first part of any business is revenue. Revenue creates the space by which business gets to operate. If there is no revenue, there is no business. So we first have to look at our revenue and say, is my business completely contingent upon me? Because if it is, it's limited and I probably can't add a whole lot of anything else. Secondly, are my operations tied to me? If so, I probably can't add that much else. Because again, I'm limited, like limited natural resources right here, right? Limited natural resources. I can't do it all. And so last but not least, again, is the accounting side, right? Is there enough, am I completely tied into that department? Sales and marketing, operations, and accounting and finance. Like how integrated am I into that? Or have I created at least outsourced relationships that allow me to scale as needed? If you have that in place, you're actually primed to be able to be on the market looking for other businesses to acquire. With that being said, once you analyze to see how much of a key man am I in each of these areas, then you can begin to identify ways in which you can slowly begin to remove yourself from being the linchpin, the only pin, right? That keeps that department going. So beginning first with revenue. So when it comes to where you're sourcing your clients from, if you are a relational professional like me and like those that we serve on the ProInsight platform, then you're probably not going to want to invest in a whole bunch of internet leads and try and chase those leads, turn them from window shoppers into shoppers over the next 6 months, right? That's just not my idea of a good time. Maybe it is yours. If so, more power to you. But if you're like me and you want to build a business that's rich in relationships, that's great. However, the way that you need to look at this is, how can I actually position my business to where they are professional relationships versus personal? Because the reality is, personal relationships, they just don't transfer very well. They're tied to years and years of people loving you, the human, right? Versus another business loving the standard of care that you offer to your particular clients. Now, I'm really interested to hear your feedback. So as you're thinking about this, I would encourage you to put in the comments down below and ask yourself the question, can I actually see myself right now being able to have revenue coming into my business even when I'm not involved? Put a yes in the comments below, or put a no, all the revenue is tied to me, or yes, other revenue comes in without it being tied to me. If you said yes, congratulations, that's perfect, right? If no, we've got some work to do. And here's what I would offer to you, is that if you still want to work by referral, the very first and best way to begin to diversify that is to build a referral partner network. In other words, there are professionals who are neighboring industry professionals to you. If you're a real estate agent, for example, there's tax professionals, there's lenders, there's property managers, there's financial advisors. There's also property service professionals like roofers, painters, plumbers, etc. All of those professionals are serving property owners just like you are. And by building a few key relationships in each of those areas, or in one in each of those areas, will give you the ability to have an inflow of referrals coming to you when done correctly. Now, in my book, The Upstream Model, I lay out the principles by which you can go from working by referral to working by professional referral. And even better than that is what we've built at ProInsight, which is a digital platform similar to if LinkedIn and BNI, which is a local networking group, if those two were to fall in love and have a baby in the 21st century, it would be ProInsight. You see, we've got the breadth of a digital national platform, but we've got the depth of relationship of a local networking group. And so we've got the technology to help you to build relationships quickly when it comes to professional relationships that can generate referrals for you. And again, that is the first step, is to start to diversify your revenue to where it's not just tied to personal, but begins to be tied to professional relationships. Now, I can't emphasize this enough, just how big this opportunity is. Again, millions of businesses valued at trillions of dollars are preparing to change hands over the next 10 years as baby boomers prepare to retire. And if you do this right, if you optimize your business correctly, you will be in a position to acquire those businesses and/or to be acquired and actually have a successful exit. So if this topic has been interesting to you, be sure and subscribe, connect with us at ProInsight, and let us help you take advantage of this massive silver tsunami that's coming your way.